Since rising to power in September 2022 through a popular military-led transition, Captain Ibrahim Traore has become a polarizing yet influential figure across West Africa. To some, he is a patriotic symbol of African self-determination, unshackled from Western neocolonialism. To others, he is an authoritarian risk, governing without elections and consolidating military power under the guise of national sovereignty. As Burkina Faso continues its complex journey under his leadership, the question of how to transition back to a democratic system, while preserving national dignity and stability, has become urgent. For Traore to be remembered not only as a revolutionary, but also as a nation builder, there are key steps he must take to guide the country toward a meaningful and sovereign democracy. This article explores what Ibrahim Traore should do to usher in genuine democratic governance in Burkina Faso. 1. Define a clear, inclusive transition roadmap. One of the first and most important steps President Traore must take is to establish a well-structured and time-bound transition plan toward democracy. The absence of such a roadmap leaves room for skepticism, fear of indefinite military rule, and accusations of authoritarianism. This roadmap should include a defined timeline for national elections, preferably within 24 to 36 months. The establishment of an independent electoral commission free from military or political influence. A multi-stakeholder dialogue involving civil society, traditional leaders, opposition parties, religious institutions, youth groups, and women's organizations. The goal should be to ensure that when elections happen, they reflect the collective will of the people and not the preferences of a military elite. 2. Strengthen local governance before national elections. In countries emerging from instability or coups, jumping straight into national elections often leads to fragile governments, contested results, and renewed chaos. Traore should instead prioritize decentralized democracy first, by allowing local governments, mayors, governors, and regional councils to be democratically elected and empowered with budgets and authority. Citizens will regain a sense of political agency. It also gives Burkina Faso a chance to test democratic systems at local levels before implementing them nationally. 3. Guarantee civil liberties and freedom of expression. A democratic system cannot exist without free speech, a free press, and civic engagement. Although Traore has emphasized national sovereignty and the need to fight terrorism, some critics warn of growing restrictions on journalists, activists, and opposition voices. To gain credibility and legitimacy, independent media houses must be allowed to operate without fear. Civil society organizations should be encouraged, not persecuted. Protesters must not be silenced through force unless they incite violence. Traore must show he trusts the people to speak their minds, and that he can tolerate criticism without resorting to suppression. 4. Tackle corruption transparently. One of the major downfalls of many African democracies is rampant corruption, often institutionalized in both civil and military regimes. If Traore wants to distinguish himself from previous regimes and gain the trust of the people, he must institutionalize a robust anti-corruption framework. This means declaring his assets publicly, creating an independent anti-corruption bureau with prosecutorial powers, requiring military officers and top government officials to disclose finances and undergo audits, investigating mismanagement under previous governments, and returning stolen assets to the public treasury. Transparency is the bridge between revolutionary legitimacy and democratic integrity. 5. Reform the military's political role. Military involvement in politics often undermines democratic institutions. While Traore came to power as a soldier, his lasting legacy will depend on his ability to transform the military into a professional, apolitical institution. Key reforms may include prohibiting active military personnel from holding political office, retraining the military on constitutional roles and civilian oversight, ensuring the military focuses solely on security, especially counterterrorism efforts in the Sahel. Traore could even voluntarily step down from active military duty to demonstrate commitment to civilian governance. 6. Invest in political education and civic literacy. For democracy to thrive, citizens must understand their rights, responsibilities, and the value of institutions like parliaments, courts, and free press. Years of instability, poor education, and political manipulation have left many Burkinabe disenfranchised and disconnected from governance. Traore's administration should launch a national civic education program, possibly in partnership with universities, community leaders, and media outlets. These programs should cover how democracy works, the importance of voting, the role of checks and balances, how to hold leaders accountable peacefully. A democracy is only as strong as the political maturity of its citizens. 7. Invite regional and continental oversight on his own terms. One major reason Traore and similar leaders have rejected Western involvement is due to historical exploitation and hypocrisy from former colonial powers. However, he does not need to work in isolation. Regional bodies like ECOWAS and the African Union can provide technical support, training, and election monitoring without dictating internal affairs. By proactively inviting African observers and experts to advise or monitor the transition, Traore can build trust and demonstrate that his democracy project is not a smokescreen. 8. Engage the diaspora and intellectual class. Burkina Faso's diaspora holds incredible intellectual, financial, and technological capital. From scholars and business people to young innovators and Pan-African thinkers, many Burkinabe abroad want to contribute to nation building. President Traore should establish a diaspora engagement council that invites Burkinabe abroad to participate in policymaking, contribute to democratic reforms, and invest in institutions back home. Likewise, local intellectuals must not be silenced. They should be included in constitutional reforms, political party development, and national dialogue. 9. Support multi-party politics without interference. Democracy thrives when multiple political parties can compete fairly. Traore should avoid handpicking future leaders or backing a preferred successor. Instead, he must ensure a level playing field where all parties can campaign, organize, and participate without intimidation. Electoral laws must be revised to prevent voter suppression, gerrymandering, or biased election commissions. The military must remain neutral before, during, and after elections. 10. Set an example and step aside when time comes. Finally, the most powerful democratic gesture Traore can make is to peacefully hand over power after transparent elections. Doing so would place him in a rare category of African leaders who chose the path of integrity over power. If he truly believes in self-reliance, sovereignty, and dignity for Africa, he must demonstrate that leadership is not about clinging to office, but about building institutions that will outlast any single individual. Captain Ibrahim Traore has already earned admiration from many Africans for his bold stand against foreign exploitation and his focus on national sovereignty.